Alright, so let's get started. So bear with me, this is the first time I had ever done a Halloween tutorial. This is just me kind of playing around, so I decided to go really hard with a pop art zombie. Now I'm taking these Snazaroo face paints. I find mine at Michael's, thanks to my friend Maddie, she showed me the way, but they seem to be really popular on YouTube, so if you're looking for something to use for full body paint, this is a really good choice. Now I couldn't decide which way I wanted to apply it. You'll see here I'm using a cosmetic wedge that is dampened because these are water activated paints, and so depending on how much water you use will determine how opaque it is on the skin. And as you can see, I'm going really deep with this purple. So sorry, I have a cold, but anyway, so I'm patting that on over my face skin, keeping the eyes blank because I am going to use eyeshadows and another face paint later. Next, I'm going in with just the sky blue because I thought it would be kind of like a highlighting shade if I just used it under the eyes and in the highlighting places, like between the forehead, on my chin, and the bridge of my nose. I don't know how successful that really was, but that was my mentality when I was doing this part of the video. Next, I started to use a paddle brush, and these are just paint brushes that I got from Michael's. They are really affordable because there are like 20 brushes in a pack, and so they had various sizes, and I decided to go with this big brush to cover the most amount of space. Then I would use a cosmetic sponge to pat in the rest of the paint, that way it did not look as streaky. But you know, if you have any tips for how to make face paint non-streaky, please let me know. I could have done better by doing more research before doing my own video, but I thought this is a real good representation of how a person who does not do special effects makeup that often would, you know, go at it. So this is real life. At the end of the day, I actually did like the texture that the paintbrush gave when on my skin. So if you're not too worried about it, then just go as you go. So right here, I pretty much stopped where the camera frame ended, but it's up to you how much body paint you will use. I showed how I set it. I did not wear this the full day, so I'm not really sure how this would work with your body, skin, and all that stuff, but for short term, it lasted pretty well. Then taking the black paint, I am using that to fill in my eyebrows pretty harshly, so this looks very cartoony, and I'm taking an angled paintbrush, and it worked really well, and I really liked how the eyebrows looked. Now I'm just taking the paintbrush again to, I guess, clean up around the brows, if you will. And then I'm taking this Eye Magic Flash Palette. I'm taking the pink and I'm prepping my eyes for eyeshadow. I'm just doing a very simple, easy, dramatic pink smoky eye. I thought the pink went well with the purple, and I'm just kind of making this video on the fly. Next, I'm going to go in with the white paint to highlight between the two colors, and I'm using that sort of to clean up under my brows and to blend in between the pink and the white. The great thing about all of these colors, all the face paints, they blend really well with one another. So like when you blend your finger in between, you get a cool mix of colors. So that's the fun part. Now using the 35C palette from Morphe, I'm taking the shadows that match the cream bases and I'm just setting everything, and that's pretty much the eyeshadow done. Then I decided to do eyeliner with the same black face paint and the same angled brush. Now this is really dramatic. You don't have to make it that dramatic, but I thought I could do it since it is a Halloween look. Now for the teardrops. Now these are supposed to simulate sort of like slime or your face melting, so I decided to make these little teardrop shapes all over my face and body. It's really up to you where you want to put it, and it really comes to life with the shading and shadowing and highlighting that will come later on. Now for me, downward strokes were a little bit more helpful because when I tried to go upward with these brushes, it kind of didn't draw the way that I wanted to. So as you can see, they kind of connect at the bottom in a weird way, but it really depends on the brushes that you use and the practice that you take. So I would definitely suggest to practice your makeup look maybe a few days before Halloween, that way you can get a hang of it. Looking at a lot of visual photos help too, so if you're looking online, try to look up the inspiration for these things, and then you can just sort of map out the way that you want to take away from things that you've seen online and then just add it. Now this step I think I would have done later, but I decided to set everything with my NYC loose powder just to extend the longevity of all the face paint, but then I found out later that I needed to use more face paint, so I would definitely save this step for the very end, or when you know that you're going to start eyeshadow. But when I started to shade in the slime, I noticed that I needed more black paint to create the gradient, so you'll see later on how that worked. Here I'm just drawing a line because I wanted to make it look like a drawing, but it didn't show so well when I put my wig on, so it doesn't really matter. You don't really need that step, but we found that out later on. So here I'm using eyeshadow, the black eyeshadow, and like I said, it wasn't as opaque as I wanted it. So you'll see in the video, I started to go back with the paint, and then I started to shade in with the eyeshadow so that it had that gradient shadowy look. So just like with highlight and contouring, the same works for face paint. So with lighter colors, things will pop out. With darker shades, things will recede. So here I'm using white face paint to sort of make the drips look more 3D, and it kind of just goes with working with it. So taking your finger, blending it out, and using the brushes and the different colors together. Now, I was never the artistic painter in the family, that's more my sister, but it kind of makes sense. So if you just blend out a white over a purple, it becomes a lighter purple, and so it just brings a little bit more dimension to the flat surface of your skin. Now onto the lips. I'm taking this Makeup Forever lipstick that I got from my influencer box, and I thought it was a perfect pop of color in this makeup look. And so just to outline the outer edges and make it look more like a cartoon, I took the black face paint to outline, and then I took white and black face paint on the inner part of the lips to make it look more juicy. With these looks, I find that the more detail you put into it, the more it comes to life. So I highlighted under the little bags under my eyes. I contoured with a burgundy shade just to fine-tune all of these little details. I decided to draw under my jawline to make it more defined and put the little outlines around my nose, and I even painted my nostrils so that it looked more defined. It's kind of weird. Now I'm just taking this discontinued eyeshadow. It is in the shade Krinkle, and I used it to highlight the inner corner of my eye just because I wanted to. And then this is optional, but if you are going to do full body paint, I decided to color like a sort of bra shape with the light blue teal shade from the Flash palette. Now I got my wig from Halloween store. It is the purple one, and I thought it looked really good with this look. It is very curly, very voluminous, and that is the finished look. So I hope that you enjoyed my first hack at this zombie makeup tutorial. Hope you got some tips and tricks and that you learned something for your own makeup. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!